correction can often seem daunting and time consuming, particularly when it comes to video footage. Many editors shy away from the task altogether. However, in today's era of DIY content creation where producers also ask editors, having grasp of few color correction techniques can come in really handy. And among all the tools which are available, understanding curves, which is most widely used and most effective, can be very useful. Upon opening the curves tool for the first time, you might just notice a simple square box with a diagonal straight line running from the bottom left towards the top right. Then why is this called curves at all? Let's understand essentially this diagonal line is what represents the spectrum of brightness values in your image. The lower left signifies the darks while the upper right signifies or represents the highlights. The midsection of this entire area corresponds to mid-tone values. Adjustments with the curves tool, adding anchor points to the line and bending it small. You can do it upwards or downwards to brighten or darken the pixels. By adding multiple anchor points, you can make more nuanced curves if you're looking for something like that. So, the process of using curves is incredibly straightforward, which is simply add a point and adjust the curve. Its potential for complexity and precision is very vast. Curves can be utilized to add various levels of contrast, remap black and white colors, and even fine-tune highlights and shadows. Now, highlights and shadows are basically blacks and whites, right? All of these can significantly manipulate color values. Let's dive into one simple example and understand what I'm talking about over here. At one end of the diagonal line lies the black level, while the other end, which is the top right end, represents the white. Now these can be adjusted by moving these points towards or away from the center, similar to manipulating the outer sliders of the levels tool, if you ever used levels tool. Darkening an image involves adding a point to the middle of the line and dragging it under or downwards that diagonal line, while brightening is bending it upwards or above that diagonal line. To add contrast, the popular S-curve can be employed. Now this S-curve is basically a small S which is shaped slightly like that by adding anchor points at the lower and the upper ends of the entire curve and adjusting them slightly so that a S is visible. Furthermore, the curve tool enables precision for manipulating colors and luminance as well. We can modify highlights, midtones and dark regions across the entire gamut of red, green and blue channels, or even remove a color channel entirely. This versatility facilitates tasks such as matching shots, correcting white balance, or even crafting personalized style looks can be done by curves. At one end of the diagonal line represents the black level, while the other represents white. These can be adjusted by moving them towards or away from the center, similar to manipulating the outer slides of levels tool. So what I can do over here is if I bring in the white, the top right side towards the left side, that will make the image more brighter across. And if I pull it downwards, it will make darker. So right now I'm playing with the whites. Similarly, I can play with the blacks. So the dark areas will become brighter if I bring this upwards, and it will become further dark if I bring them towards the right side. To add contrast, the popular S-curve technique can be employed. This involves creating a small S-curve with adding anchor points at the upper and the lower ends of the line and adjusting accordingly. So what this does is it makes the whites whiter and the darks darker, essentially giving a nice contrast to the image. Let's try this with a couple of colors to understand how this works. I have a few color bars over here. Now with this, let's play with the simple white or Luma curve. So with this, if I drag the top right edge of the line towards the left side, it will make the entire area brighter. Now you see, the white over here and the white over here is similar. The red over here and the red over here is similar. And similarly for the green and blue areas also. If I do the same thing with black, I would be able to extend the black area on the top something like this. So what this does is it gives a very hard shift between the colors, which is white or bright and dark regions. We can add a simple S curve over here to make the whites whiter and the darks darker. Now, if I were to do this just with colors, let's pick up the red curve over here. So with the curve for the red color, if I drag the top line towards the left side, you will see the red is now stronger. The white has in fact also changed to red for a large area. Doing the same thing for the dark regions, if I increase the red, it will make the black areas red and it will change the color over here as well. So what was blue is now becoming purple because there is a tint of red being added, and what was green will essentially become yellow. Doing this on the other side, we will make the red color reduce or removed from the entire ratio. So from the white, where we have removed the red area, the remaining color is cyan, which is a mix of green and blue. And the red, where there was red, is now becoming dark and entirely black. Let's try the same thing with a different color now. With the blue color, if I end up dragging this point towards the left side, you should expect that the bright blue should take up more area in the entire picture. And that is what we see. I can see that it has not affected anything in the green and the red areas. Now, if I were to do this similarly and bring this point down, it will make the blue black and will reduce the amount of blue from the white. Now, this ends up becoming a mixture of green and red to make a yellow. Similarly, if I were to bring the bottom left point towards the top, I am increasing the amount of blue in my dark regions. Something like this. And if I were to move it towards the right side, I am changing the white regions to have lesser of blue. And that's why this becomes black and the white ends up having a yellow color. Now let's start by doing another simple color correction over here. To start my color correction, I will go for basic correction, check for the colors and make sure that the white balance is appropriately applied. So I can select this white shirt or this white wall over here, which is extremely white or close to white, and choose that. That way it changes the temperature and the tint of the entire setup. Next, add slight brightness by adding exposure and make sure that the brightness does not wave off the black areas, and that's why add some contrast to it to make sure that the image maintains a nice balance of colors. Now to make whites whiter, I can pull the highlights slightly higher, but I can also see that even at its most default point, the white is bright enough. Now I can do the same thing for shadows. To make the shadows darker, I will take it towards the left side and I can make this shirt slightly darker or this bit that is under shirt slightly darker to make sure that there is appropriate contrast. I can do the same thing with blacks and whites, but these affect those colors directly without changing what is there in the entire image. So highlights might work on bright reds, but whites will not. This will work only on the areas where there is a white pixel visible. Okay, now once this is done, let's go to curves. Open up RGB curves and add a nice bit of contrast. I can do that by creating a simple S curve over here for the highlights and the shadows. At any point, if this feels too strong, you can always decrease the amount of curving that is happening. You can also change the mid tones if you want them to be brighter or darker accordingly. Now, once this is set, I might just want to reduce the green color over here. So for that, I will go into the green color channel and reduce the amount of highlights and shadows both. But this ends up making it look very reddish. So let's increase this to some extent so that there is no reddishness that is visible in my shot. Now I can fix the same thing by doing it with red. Now over here, I can just bring it slightly down and give it a slightly cooler look. And now I have a way better output from color correction. This is how it looked earlier and this is how it looks now. See, it is so easy to get started with color correction. Why were you even shying away from it? The fun part is that this is just the beginning, which is color correction. Next is color grading, where you can choose to apply your own creative looks and probably think of sepia or black and white and play around with the contrast and get that look that you'd want. Because that is a creative job. You don't have to be very precise in your math to get that color graded look. Well, that is just the start of your filmmaking. Actually, you probably started editing it and this might be the final version, but this is a good time where you can understand how your film would look like on screen, isn't it? Well, I hope you found this video interesting and insightful. Follow this channel for more such information on colors, design, alignment. There are so many different tools that I'm going to be talking about in Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, and even After Effects in a while. Well, I hope all of this was useful. I will find you in another video if you end up subscribing for it, or even if you don't.